name is Colleen Hellman. I'm a parent in the district.
My daughter Rowan is 3 years, 8 months old. She has received physical therapy services since she was 6 months old. 2 weeks ago, she jumped for the first time. Having 3 kids in the district, I can attest to the great teachers and therapists here. I can also attest to the uphill battle my husband and I endured to have the district accommodate bus drop-offs for Rowan. In the interest of full disclosure, you need to know that the parents in the neighborhood of this bus stop were not happy with the change in location at the beginning of the school year. Requesting accommodation for Rowan was not about getting the bus stop moved, as you might have been led to believe. It was about getting a child's needs met. Prior to school starting, I was under the impression that Rowan would be picked up and dropped off in front of her destination. Instead, she was dropped off a tenth of a mile away and had to cross the street. Rowan did not have the speed nor stamina to safely cross and walk the distance. I shared my concern with Rowan's teacher, who said she would look into it. I later learned the director of pupil services had watched Rowan get off the bus at school and had decided that she was fine. Meanwhile, we tried to get Rowan to walk the distance, but she was not successful. I requested an IEP meeting that took place on October 7th. At this meeting, the 2 reasons given were that historically bus stops are not moved and that the school looks at the least restrictive environment. It was clear we were not being listened to, so I provided an M1 form and requested it be filled out, documenting the reasons they were denying the request. This prompted administrative staff to call the superintendent, where we heard the least restrictive environment argument again. The meeting ended with nothing being resolved and the M1 form not filled out. 3 days after the meeting, I received a call from the director of pupil services letting me know that they had decided to gather information from Rowan's physical therapist. And 3 days after that, I learned that Rowan had been placed on a treadmill to see if she could walk a tenth of a mile. I contacted the superintendent. At the meeting with the superintendent, she downplayed our concern about the treadmill, and when asked what the policies are for notifying parents of plans to use equipment such as a treadmill with a child such as Rowan, we were told we would have to ask the physical therapist. The superintendent did state that in order for a bus stop to be changed, she needed data. Data was never mentioned at the IEP meeting. I requested another IEP meeting on October 13th and provided our availability on the 14th. On the 19th, I reached out to Rowan's teacher asking if there was any further development on setting a date for the meeting. I learned Rowan's teacher had received notification that the meeting was scheduled for the following day. Perhaps lack of notification was a simple error, but based on the actions of the district leading up to this, I felt it intentional and no apology was received. At the meeting, data was provided that led to a change in Rowan's IEP. I believe a discussion regarding Rowan took place between the superintendent and the director of pupil services prior to the October 7th meeting. This is legal. What is not legal is making a determination prior to an IEP meeting. Considering that both of these parties had the same least restrictive environment argument and data gathering was not offered as part of the meeting, I believe a decision had in fact been made prior to the meeting. The administration thought that they could simply say no to our request, give a couple of excuses, and we would agree with them. This strategy is doing a disservice to the kids you are charged with educating, and as a district, we are better than this.
Thank you. I have a question. Did you ever contact any board members?
No. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. The next one is Taylor Brown. About the construction and health. Hi, Taylor.
My name is Taylor Brown, and I'm a junior at Michigan. I have a severe genetic lung disease called cystic fibrosis, or CF. In patients with CF, a thick buildup of mucus in the lungs clogs the airways and traps bacteria, leading to infections and extensive lung damage. I am especially susceptible to illness and have to be very conscious of air quality. That being said, dust, airborne pathogens, and molds are all extremely dangerous to a person with cystic fibrosis. The construction taking place in the school as part of the referendum, which was publicized as contained, became detrimental to my health when it spread into the hallways, including the one where my locker is located. On Thursday, April 13th, my mom noticed fumes when she was in high school for a meeting. I left school early that day and found out that several sources had informed my mom that the conditions caused by the construction were potentially harmful to me. My mom contacted my physician at Children's Hospital, Diana Quintero, an attorney for the CF Foundation who also has CF, Beth Sufian, and my family's attorney, Justin Wallace, for further information and the representation to address the school on this matter. Each of these individuals contacted the school over this matter, and Michigan School District replied to none of them for several days. Because of this, I was unable to attend school the entire week of April 16th. Accommodations were not made for me until Friday, April 21st. The first of the wrongdoings of the administration lies in their lack of attention back when this construction was mapped out. I understand that decisions over the location and timeline of construction cannot be made on the basis of one student. However, had the school acknowledged my 504 plan months ago, I could have been accommodated and would not have to miss school at all. Secondly, when the school failed to do this, they should have responded to the issue and accommodated me without delay. Thirdly, and worst of all in the eyes of the student who has to walk these halls, is the blatant disregard for my well-being, my education, and the severity of my illness. This matters, despite my being accommodated, because my 504 plan is supposed to protect me and my well-being is supposed to be valued by the school. Yet I have not even received an apology. Instead, my family has been made to feel like we need to defend the severity of my illness by an administrator who, quote, has no proof this would be harmful to me. My family and I work hard to ensure that this illness doesn't infringe upon many aspects of my life, but the school could not do the same. Very few people see the breathing treatments, medications, doctor's appointments, hospitalizations, and the psychological effect this illness has on me, but that does not mean it doesn't exist. It is not okay that information about the construction was withheld from my family. It is not okay that I had to miss school as a result of administrative failures, and it is not okay that the administration did not communicate with my family over an urgent matter for over a week. Thankfully, I have teachers who helped me keep up in class and a caring school nurse, who is also the only individual I received an apology from. This past week has hurt me, and I believe it's time the school board take a more active role in what's going on within this building. Deceit, discrimination, and disregard should not be tolerated.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Schnell on the athletic court.
Hi, my name is Sarah Schnell. I have three children that attend here at the Michigan High School. I am here to discuss our athletic code and the recent accusations that were made against me by our administration. Last year, when our youngest son was in 8th grade, he missed the band lesson, which is an elective class, that was scheduled during a science lab or core class. He chose to stay in the science lab. I, to this day, support his decision in staying in the science class versus a 10-minute band lesson. This was in the beginning of a quarter, right before grade checks. So he received an F on grade check since it was the only grade on the books. He is being punished for something he had no control over. He was expected to be in 2 places at once. He made the lesson up within a day and before the next basketball game. He was told he could not play and had to sit for 3 weeks, the majority of a middle school basketball season. I was told by our AD at the time to talk to the superintendent about this. He said his hands were tied. So I went into her office and informed her of the situation. The superintendent replied that I must not have a respect for band, that she is an orchestra mom and band should be very important to our students and just as important as our core classes. No exceptions will be made. My point was completely missed. This was a kid that is not a slacker student, but an honor roll student. Grade checks landed at the beginning of the quarter. The student made up the band lesson and went from an F to an A in 1 day. Exceptions can and should be made. So I brought this incident up at an open parent forum in October 2016. I was told by the high school principal that the rules will not and cannot be changed. All schools in our county and conference have exactly the same athletic code. So I did a little research of my own. I personally called about 10 random schools in our county and in our conference to ask what their athletic code was. I found there to be quite a range of different policies that were held by the other schools. I brought my information to the next open parent forum. I was told by the principal my information must be incorrect because all schools must follow WIAA rules. Well, this most certainly is not true when you check with other schools and their policies. I have a printout of my findings for the academic portion of the school athletic codes, if you wish to see them. Then on April 13th, when the information came out about the asbestos removal happening in our school, I called the high school office to find out if it was safe for my children to be in the building where my son did report he smelled a very strong gasoline odor. I was called back about an hour and a half later. The high school principal and superintendent were both on speakerphone. I was thanked for calling about my concern, was told that my children would not be in any danger. Things were being handled by professionals. Then I was accused of having anger issues towards the district and spreading lies throughout the district, which is causing a huge movement in our community. I was shocked. I have no lies to tell. I was asked to come in person to talk to them and settle my anger issues towards the district. I will not talk to people in person that wrongly accuse me of being a liar just so my words can be twisted again, and for me to not be heard or understood. I am not angry, just standing up for my child's decision and the children in the future that love to play sports and may not because of such rigid rules. I do not appreciate such accusations. I am a parent, volunteer, and taxpayer of this community. I feel as though my concerns are not heard and only swept under the rug. This is our athletic code. Each school has their own. Think about the troubled child that lives each day to play his favorite sport and thrives with the interaction that he has with his coach and his teammates. That is what this is about, making a difference and an impact on a child's life. And sports may just be that very one thing for that child. Thank you. Does anybody want the printout that I found on the other schools?
Copies of that for me. You got copies of that for me. Patty, Peggy, I'm sorry, Peggy Hassman. Read the letter from my son who was a former student of Scott's, and he's a graduate of 2005. Peggy?
Hi, thank you for letting me read this letter. My name is Peggy Hassmer. My son was Matt Hassmer, a 2005 graduate here, and also a former student of Scott Van Hefty. And he couldn't be here tonight because he's working, so I'd like to read the letter that he has written to the Mishicot Board of Education. Dear Mishicot School Board members, I am writing this letter to address a topic that was recently brought to my attention over the last several weeks. It saddens me to hear that Scott Van Hefty's position as a special education teacher may be in jeopardy after 19 years of dedicated service to the Mishicot School District. I am writing this letter not only because I feel Mr. Van Hefty's position is warranted, but because I also feel he is still the right person for the job. It was my pleasure not only to have Mr. Van Hefty as a coach, but also as a special education teacher. I was one of Mr. Van Hefty's students, and I struggled with reading impairment during my teenage years. Mr. Van Hefty was nothing but professional, and he taught me at a level which was easily understood by students, so that they could understand the material. With everything happening in school districts across the country today, Mishicot should be proud to employ a teacher like Scott. I can honestly say I would not be as successful as I am today if it weren't for Mr. Van Hefty and the many other special education teachers in the Mishicot School District. As member of the Mishicot School Board, your primary obligation is to look after the best interest of the students, and removing Mr. Van Hefty from the Mishicot School District would not be in the best interest of the students. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Matt Hassmer. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Jim Reef, special election.
Good evening. I had previously passed around the survey that was taken by this district, and you want to have that handy. A recent survey by this district showed that taxpayers consider the most important priorities as number one, retaining high-quality staff, number two, maintaining services to help students with learning disabilities. Yet the board and the administration has not listened to taxpayers. 6 days after the election, we decided to restructure the special education department, taking a special education teacher of 19 years and asking him to teach both special ed and general education, with the knowledge that he did not have general ed certification. Comments were made by two board members that Scott Van Hefty only needed a few night classes to get this general ed certification, also stating he refused to do so. I took the liberty and called Scott. This is not correct. It would require 2 years of full-time student to get his degree and an investment of upwards of $20,000, with no guarantee that his job would be here for him. Why is this restructuring being done? Are the special ed kids benefiting? No. Why can't Scott maintain his current format of teaching special ed full-time, and Ms. Byszewski, who has cross-certification, maintain her duties and if required, teach a few general education classes to fill her day. Then lastly, word got around that Miss Lisa Van Hefty, a special ed teacher, was removed from the building with no reason given. I repeat, no reason given, and was put on administrative leave. Now, how is that good for kids? All this within 2 weeks of the election, and with citizens and some staff of our district supported a writing candidate. So is this a retaliation for not supporting the candidate of the administration's choice? Looks like it started. Now, let me share this. A current board member shared confidential information from closed session with myself. And another board member shared similar information with another member of the community, a violation of law. Because of the actions of our leaders, numerous members of the teaching staff are requesting letters of recommendation from their building supervisors as they apply at other districts. So again, our number one goal of maintaining the staff is being neglected by the board and administration. You as the board can turn your head now, but you won't as the lawsuits start piling up. The taxpayers demand answers for costs of legal costs and settlement that could easily reach or exceed $1 million. The police are already involved in this situation, so the fireworks will start soon. As a taxpayer and parent of students in this district, I am demanding the reinstatement of Scott and Lisa Van Hefty into their current positions. Their records cleared and total and full disclosure of everything by this administration and board provided to the public per the wishes of those teachers. If you choose not to, we won't rest. We'll bring in the media, we'll get the message out, and then we can look at our open enrollment numbers from there. Now, board, how would you personally like it if you were an employer, if your employer kept you walking in eggshells daily, using intimidation tactics, retaliation to get their agenda through? Staff is a real reason we are sending our kids here, not administrators. As a past 9-year veteran of this board, I find this appalling. The actions of the staff and the board.
And Julie Rivley. General concessions?
Concerns, can't read my writing. Sorry.
General concerns, there we go.
I applaud those that have come forward tonight to express their stories. It's not easy. It's not easy to come out and share your stuff in a room full of people, so I applaud them. I look at this board and I see my neighbors. I see administration that I have advocated for in the past. I see parents of my son's friends. I see my friends. I've been involved in this district for 17 years. Our oldest at the time was in 3rd grade. I went to the elementary school. I remember going to the elementary school and asking the principal at that time was Mr. Carlson to tell me about Michigan. He didn't tell me about the graduation rates. He didn't tell me about the number of high school kids that are taking AP classes. Instead, he told me about relationships, staff, parents, students, and community, equal stakeholders. He sold me on the community, on the district, and I jumped in with both feet. I quickly became involved in the elementary parents group, starting the school dance, and I believe that the school dance is still occurring today. I advocated and helped start Special Friends Day. I became president of the middle school parents backers. I was president of the O.H. Schultz parents group. When Tom stated that he needed my help with the parents backers, I didn't hesitate. I jumped right in. When the sports boosters was worried that they only had 3 members and 2 of them were going to be done, I jumped in along with Mrs. Holzbach, who I think is here tonight. When Tom asked me to support the athletic leadership classes and to address the parents of the athletes to get that buy-in, I didn't hesitate. I've been involved in site-based committee meetings, athletic summit meetings, spearheading the Iron Games, Meet the Indian Night, and team dinners. I remember Jeff taking off work and grilling over 200 chicken breasts for Sackbra bike riders, not once, but twice, to raise money for struggling families in this community. I've been so involved in the district that I've had parents and students ask if I am on staff. And I did it because I care about this district. But things began to change. I now hear half-truths, confidential information being disclosed. I hear about contracts and caring staff not being renewed or placed on administrative leave, seemingly without taking into consideration the effects of our kids, or for that matter, their kids. I hear potentially about criminal activity over a school board election. I hear inaccurate information discussed in closed sessions becoming the town gossip. I recently witnessed activity I hear about parents and staff that feel like they cannot speak up due to fear that they will be retaliated against, or worse, that their child will be. I met with Dr. Tim in February to talk about my concerns. I told her for the first time I would hesitate if someone asked if they should open enroll their child here in Michigan. We can shout from the rooftops as many times as we want the accolades about this school, but if we as staff, parents, students feel like we're not being heard, then that's a concern. Recently, a board member insinuated on social media there was a lack of parents volunteering, and perhaps it was due to parent laziness. I challenge you to shift your framework. Could it be because we feel that we're not being heard, and as a result, what you're starting to see is disengagement? I have lost my trust in this administration, and I've lost my trust in this board as a whole. So let me say this. I need all of you to be imparters of the truth. Your statements are putting us as community members, parents, and staff in an untenable position to defend ourselves. We have some large gaps, and it's time to shore up. We want a town meeting without the presence of administration, held where we can speak openly and honest with this board. No more aligning yourself closely with this administration that you can no longer stand on your own 2 feet. It's time to pull out your mirrors, roll up your sleeves, and start working on behalf of all of us. I'm going to address, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm going to address the crowd here. I'm going to tell you.
You cannot. I'm sorry, you cannot.
That I'm not addressing the crowd here, but I'm going to continue to advocate for all staff, the parents, and most importantly, the kids. I'm not sure whose back this board has, but I can tell you, Jeff and I have your backs, and we're going to continue to have all of your backs that are sitting in this room. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming, and I see your concern. If you weren't be concerned, you wouldn't be here. And we will take everything that all of you said into consideration, and I mean that sincerely. And most of you that know me know I am very fair. And we will take your concerns and we will deal with them. And I appreciate your time very, very much. Now, on to our regular meeting. Precedent. Discussion items. The building project update.
At the end of the meeting, we can take a walk, and take a look at the projects that are in progress, so we can see what is happening in the buildings right now. Things are tracking well in terms of an on-time schedule for the project.
I'm hard of hearing.
So things are tracking well. No glitches that they have found that are taking the project off the tracks in terms of what they're finding when they're getting into things a little bit further. So everything is tracking well. We're going to take a walk later and take a look at it.
Questions? It seems to be going very, very well. Buildings are going up, and work is being done, and everything is on schedule, on time.
Yep, Corey is responding that he is pleased with progress so far.
Number 7, action items. Approve a 6-year technology budget.
That's me. Our engineer and our support from GDC is available by phone. If there's any questions that the board has that I would not be able to interject my technology expertise, because there's a lot of intricacies in this project that I don't fully understand. I'm under the guidance of our contracted tech company, and they are available. So if there's any items that the board feels they need more information on before they act on I will take those down and I will contact him. He'll be available via phone. We have been working the last year, in fact, it's been about a year, on an initiative in this district to move us forward. And I would say to be more, I don't want to say competitive, for lack of a better word, but to kind of pick things up and be more, I guess, competitive as other districts have been around our area. We prided ourselves on having a fairly sound technology structure in our district, support, access to technology, training, but we felt that in order for us to move forward, that we needed to look at the possibilities of a one-to-one initiative for our students in this district. Over the course of the last year, our group of teachers and administrators have conducted site visits to other schools within the county and outside of the county. We've worked on implementing trainings for our staff. We've done some research in terms of what other districts are doing and how those things could benefit us in the Mishicot School District. The group has put together a 6-year technology budget, which Christine has put in your paperwork. It is very extensive. One of the things that we wanted to make sure that we did was to provide a budget that is sustainable. We did not want to make all of these changes in our technology infrastructure and our access to technology and not be able to support that in the coming years, because all that would happen is fancy toys. And I think that that's one of the things other districts use that terminology, that if you don't provide the support to your staff and to your students, and if you don't have a vision in terms of what you want to see with technology, then those initiatives will not stand. And we do not want to go down that road. The last time that this district underwent a major infrastructure overhaul, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, was about 10 years ago, where we kind of started with a wireless project, new cabling, new infrastructure in our closets, and as you know, and all of you know, that technology changes rapidly. First and foremost, I'm going to ask the board to act on a cabling project. We currently run Cat 5 cabling, and that was, as I mentioned before, installed 10 years ago. We want to upgrade that cabling to Cat 6 cabling, provide better reliability, higher speeds. It will also allow us to place new drops into classrooms and strategic locations throughout the district to accompany things such as the new infrastructure that's being put into, or new structure that's being put into place over by the Fayette Gym, as well as the remodeling of the offices, classroom areas, and also the fabrication lab that was included in the referendum project. They're public supported. In addition to that, any questions so far? In addition to that, I held 2 community meetings. Happy to say I had 18 people combined at those 2 meetings, which is better than 17, but we wanted to get community feedback, especially from our stakeholders, our parents that are entering grades, that have students who are entering grades 5 and grades 9, as those are the 2 grade levels that we're going to be implementing the one-to-one initiative in. And I see Jill over there, not to put you on the spot, but parents had an opportunity to come and ask some questions in terms of specifics about having a device, that if the district offers a device for the child to purchase, what types of insurance would be offered, what if parents chose not to purchase a device, would they be able to provide their own? And through those discussions, we were able to have some very open dialogues about some of the concerns that parents had moving forward. Our committee of teachers also put together a plan, a summer training plan that included, that's actually going on, I believe, as we speak, but a number of different evenings throughout the school year and also into the summer, where we are providing a background for teachers to gain information about different web access and a platform to carry our one-to-one initiative, and that would be Schoology. Again, our research is based on information from other districts, and we know that surrounding districts like Two Rivers, Denmark, Manitowoc, and some of the bigger districts in the Valley and in Green Bay are already successfully implementing one-to-one programs. Like it or hate it, we also know that technology is the direction that all things are moving in. On different occasions, we've had community members that have asked me personally, do we still teach handwriting in the elementary school? It seems to be a hot topic at least once a year from a couple of community members. We do still teach handwriting in the elementary level. We teach it through 3rd grade. But we also realize the importance of teaching technology and tech literacy skills to our kids moving forward, and we start that as young as 4K with the devices that they have access to. So for all of you who have children in this room right now, you know that your kids can operate these devices far better than we can at far younger ages with very little training or guidance. We just are very excited at the opportunity that we have as a district moving forward. In order to provide a one-to-one initiative, you have to have a sound infrastructure. If you don't have a reliable internet connection, you really don't have anything. The current wireless structure that we have, I believe, has about 30 or 35 access points district-wide between the 2 physical buildings. In this proposal, we are looking to upgrade and to add access points close to 90, so tripling the number of access points. We're going to be moving to a cloud-based